I swallow everything. Whenever I'm feeling worried, I begin eating like a maniac. Let's say I have my midterms coming up. They're important exams, so they tend to cause most students a lot of anxiety, more than usual. Some cope by sleeping or maybe drinking. I start eating to the point I swallow everything in my kitchen. And it's not like I'm eating normally. It shows up at weird times. When I'm on the verge of having an anxiety attack, I run to the kitchen and start swallowing all the leftovers like crazy. If I see a bag of Doritos, I open it and swallow all of them whole. I don't know which part is worse, when I'm eating everything like there's no tomorrow, or after I'm done with it. Sometimes I purge myself to not feel that bad. I feel filthy, as if I had not eaten a simple bag of chips or whatever, and instead had eaten a person alive. Even worse, I can't seem to control these binges. I haven't purged myself that many times, though, because it scares me. I try to lull myself to sleep, thinking that nothing is wrong with me, though I know there's something wrong. The thoughts simply invade my mind, and I want to shut them up to be able to think. I start taking deep breaths, and before I even realize what I'm doing, I've already eaten through half of the kitchen. This began when I was younger. There was this time when I had an important presentation for my geography class, and for some reason, I had been eating more than usual when nearing the date of my presentation. Whenever I thought about standing in front of the class when at home, I ran straight to the kitchen and grabbed anything I could find and swallowed. I've been like this for around 2 years, though I never paid it as much mind as I have right now, because I've picked up a lot of weight and people are noticing. Some of my friends have even asked me what I've been doing to earn these lumps and rolls on my chest, which have always been very flat. This makes everything worse. I get more anxious when I have to deal with these kinds of comments. And when I start to get anxious once more, I begin eating and swallowing and eating and swallowing. My mom eventually noticed this, and she told me that I should try to keep control, take deep breaths, and avoid eating. It works for the first few minutes, but then these thoughts come back to my head, and I begin eating once more. Even then, while this is a terrible situation, I've sort of learned to live with it. Eventually, when nothing changes, you get used to the binges and eating through everything, even the extra weight. Or, well, I thought so, until that fateful day when I was starving. Not starving, because when I swallow things, I'm not really hungry. But I feel like I could eat a cow at the same time. It's weird trying to explain it. Almost as if my mind was willing me to eat everything, but my body was telling me not to. Well, that morning I went into the kitchen, and Mom hadn't finished buying the groceries. My head was pounding, and I was getting dizzy. I needed to eat something. I scrambled around each of the kitchen drawers looking for something to eat. There was nothing edible, but my anxiety didn't show any signs of stopping anytime soon. Eventually, I saw the second best thing to food. Or at least what my mind thought was the second best thing, because it wasn't good at all for my body. There was some red slime on the counter that my little sister had made, and I didn't even know what I was doing. It had a nice smell, and before I even realized it, I had already swallowed some of the slime. I thought I was going to die. I knew how slime was made, and obviously knew that it wasn't good at all for my body. There's glue, there's contact solution, there's borax, and in large quantities. Those are all toxic for my body. I was going to die if I didn't do something quick. I wasn't thinking properly, but I was sane enough to call my mom in that instant. "What is it, sweetie?" she answered quickly, even though she was probably on the way back home from work. "Mom, I just did something terrible. I swallowed Laura's slime because I have been having another food binge. There was nothing in the kitchen. I'm sorry. I need help. I feel like I will die." I managed to tell her, trying to hold back the tears that soon were going to streak down my cheeks. Mom told me that she would get back home as fast as she could to take me to the hospital and perform a gastric lavage to remove the poisonous ingredients of the slime. But did I have enough time before I passed out or something worse? My stomach began roiling. In the next minutes, a terrible pain invaded my stomach. I doubled on the floor and began vomiting. It was very painful, with every time I threw up spiking a world of pain through all of my body. At this moment, my head was being pounded by terrible headaches, and my thoughts were pure guilt. Why had I eaten that? Why couldn't I control myself like other kids do? I kept vomiting, sometimes my lunch, sometimes some of the slime, and many times a reddish combination of both. My mom opened the door and found me on top of the stinky puddle of red vomit and picked me up. In no time, I was on the way to the hospital, and they managed to perform a gastric lavage on time. How did she end up like this? Was it an accident? The doctors asked my mom when we were leaving. My mom was about to answer, probably a quick white lie to cover the incident up without exposing me, but I was honest at that moment. Honest not with the doctor, but with myself. I have a problem. I swallow everything I see when I'm anxious. I need help, because I don't want this to happen to me again. Can you help me, doctor? My words were as sincere as I could muster after this painful day. The doctors were very kind, and they found me a great psychologist that helped to treat my eating disorder. Now, I don't swallow everything I see when I'm anxious. And with support, I managed to overcome this terrible episode of my life. What I want to tell you with my story is that we always have difficulties and low points in our lives, but we're not alone. I tried to ignore my eating disorder for 2 years and ended up nearly dying from food poisoning. Don't make my mistake. If you need help, then go get it. You will be grateful to solve any problem you have in the long term.